Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Print on Demand cast. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. If you're a multiple-time listener, welcome back to the Print on Demand cast. We are here live. It's a Monday, the 12th of December. And Travis, how are you? We got on the phone or on the call, and your Wi-Fi was acting a fool, and things were going crazy, and it seemed like it was a fairly busy day over there at MYMD headquarters. So fill us in. How is your Monday treating you?
Well, this is probably the busiest Monday of the year for a fulfillment company. Maybe we should have worked on Saturday. I don't know, but we didn't. So here we are. We're probably going to do some overtime this week, but I think we walked into like 1,500 orders or something like that. And that's not units, that's orders. So a lot of those are 2, 3, 4, 10, items. And yeah, exactly. So it was quite the day here.
Sure.
So we had a massive stack of DTG orders, and about 1 o'clock, our DTG guy had to go pick up a sick kid. So he'll be back tomorrow, but he was gone half the day. So it kind of one less person, and if those printers aren't printing every second, if those mug presses aren't pressing every second, it's just getting us further and further behind. So, it was a little bit stressful today trying to make sure that everybody understood the importance,
the severity of what's happening. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So a little stressful, but that's okay. It was a good, I'm glad, I'm thankful to have that many orders. That's
sure. It's a good problem to have, right?
It's a good problem to have for sure. We just got to get through it and get to our 4-day Christmas break when it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that as well. That's going to be a nice respite, as it were.
How was your trip to Germany?
Man, it was pretty incredible, actually. If anyone's listening, if of course people are listening, what am I saying? For those of you listening, if you have ever thought about, should I go visit Germany? I would highly recommend Heidelberg. We went to Strasbourg in France. I had no grid or nothing to kind of expect, I guess, as to what I was getting myself into. And so it was incredible. The architecture is phenomenal. There's so much history. You can see here, this is like the entrance to one of the bridges in Heidelberg here that overlooks the entire river that it's on, which is like, this shot here, and that's Heidelberg, and then the mountains, and it's incredibly beautiful. And it's crazy to go somewhere where everything is historic. It was like he'd be like walking down the street, and our guide, whose name was Andreas, he was like, so this building was owned by the most rich textile worker, like fabrics, and so he had his house here, and it's like a massive building, right? It doesn't even look like a normal person's home. And then the building to the left was like owned by the then sitting prince's sister's friend, and all of it. It's just like, it's crazy wild stuff to see how much history is there. I'd have to say my favorite building, it was in Strasbourg. Just seeing the Notre Dame Cathedral that's there. It's all Gothic architecture. It's 492 feet at the top of the spire here.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible, front to finish. So first time in Europe. The first night we got there was very jet lagged. They're 8 hours ahead of us, and so flew through the night. I can't sleep on a plane, and I didn't for the entire 9.5 hours of that flight, or the 10.5 hours flying back. couldn't sleep. So I will say we had Five Guys burgers and fries more times in Germany than I have in Longmont in the last year, because they're like in every town in Germany, and it's Uber Eats is a thing over there also.
Mhm.
So we landed and just needed food because we were hungry and we were tired. And Five Guys is something that I could know what I was ordering on German
Right.
Uber Eats, because it's all in German. I have no way to decipher this menu, but I know what a cheeseburger looks like, and I know that those are fries. But yeah, it was awesome, man. It was also cool to see, the company that Madeline works for, and meet some of the people and the higher ups, and
Mhm.
kind of get a better grid for exactly what that company is, and what they're, all the people that are involved. So
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing was the food over there is so much more clean. Even like I had a pizza and I had burgers and the beer. You have a pizza here and you feel like crap, like, in the next 30 minutes, especially that night, the next morning. Wasn't a thing there. Felt fine. The beer did not make me feel bloated or gross. I mean, it was like,
Well, that
it
just
was
means you didn't have enough.
yeah, exactly. It would be, you talk to like foreign exchange students that are coming over from those countries, and they eat the way they ate at home when they're here, and they gain 15, 20 pounds. And then they go back
Mm,
home and they lose that weight because the food is just, there's not as many additives and all this other stuff that,
interesting.
is in our food here. So, um, but yeah, next year the incentive trip is to Scotland. So hopefully we'll be able
Ooh.
to get over to Scotland and try all of the scotches that Scotland has to offer.
Yes,
Um,
I'm coming with you. Put me in your
all
suitcase.
right. Well, hey, I'm telling you, my sisters, after seeing this trip, were like, "So, how many students does Madeline have to place to get this trip?" And we told them, it's like, "Well, how can we help her sell 8 for us? How so we can go on the trip?" So we're like, "Hey, if you want to help place people, come on the trip. We'll just get you." But yeah,
That's cool.
it was a good time overall, and I would definitely go back. So it was good.
Hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Well,
that's a
yeah, we've
lot
got
of
a
waffle. Let's
that is a lot of waffle. That's
I
okay
love
though.
Belgian waffles. Yeah, it's a huge
This
thing.
show is actually going to be really long though. In
Yeah, it
fact,
is.
in fact, we didn't even get to the magic questions with our
No,
guest
we didn't.
because it was so good. I'm not kidding, guys. This
Yeah,
was one of my
this.
favorite episodes.
Yeah, I think for those of you that are listening, I mean, you probably tell by the title. But we had a good friend of ours, Luke Humbrecht, on for the interview, and I don't really even
Mhm.
want to touch on it heading into it because there's so much there that I want you to discover. You just go in there blind, as it were, no grid,
Right.
but it's going to be incredible, and I think it's going to be so helpful for everybody listening. So with that being said, I think we should just get right to it and
Let's
go
do
to
it.
this week's main event, our interview with Luke Humbrecht.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event.
All right, Travis, super excited about the interview we have today with someone that we've talked about getting on the show multiple times, and it's finally happening. Someone you and I both know. We're talking about Luke Humbrecht of Voicecraft. Now, for those listening, here's a little bit about Luke you need to know. Luke Humbrecht is a Colorado-based copywriter and Storybrand certified guide. Too many businesses and nonprofits are getting tuned out in a noisy world. Luke's company, Voicecraft, helps them craft a marketing message that captures people's attention. And don't worry, for those listening, we're going to get into everything that we just talked about in that intro in more detail. So we're going to bring on the man with the knowledge, the golden nuggets, Mr. Luke Humbrecht. How are you, man? Thank you so much
Hey,
for coming on the show finally.
yeah, good to be here, guys. So excited to be on the Print on Demand podcast today. What a privilege.
Yes.
Yeah, for a little bit of history with Luke. Obviously, both Josiah and I know Luke, but
Yep.
back when we were doing the Rocky Mountain Reseller Conference, Luke was actually one of our kind of main speakers.
Yeah.
And he was, again, talking about Storybrand back then, several years ago. So we knew we had to get him on the show to talk about Storybrand and how it relates or how it can relate
Yeah.
to print on demand. So before we do that, though, Luke, why don't you kind of give us a little history into like how did you find your way into Storybrand?
Right. Yeah, it's a great question. Not quite a traditional pathway, so to speak. I never grew up wanting to be a marketer or copywriter, but from a young age, I was always captivated by men and women who, when they spoke, they got up and held a microphone from a public speaking perspective. Or, I grew up in church world, so watching preachers who could take complicated ideas and then just very clearly communicate them, I was captivated by that. And uh, later on, I became a preacher myself and a pastor, but I started to fall in love with the process of helping people that were trying to communicate something, figure out how to say it more simply and more clearly. And I realized that there's a lot of people, both in the nonprofit world and in the business world, who have something valuable to offer. But when they go to talk about it, they just don't have they don't have a framework or the tools with which to be able to clearly describe what they do. So they're amazing at what they do. It's just they can't talk about what they do, and it's not their fault. That's not why they're the best at what they do. So I've found it just a great passion of mine to help business leaders or business owners / nonprofit leaders get the language that they're searching for. And along the way, I became acquainted with a whole process called Storybrand. And what it is, it's a methodology or framework. It really does what we're talking about. It's created by Donald Miller, but basically the big idea is that every marketing message really has to tap into the 7 elements of a good story if it's going to be understood and action is going to be taken. And so this whole 7-part framework, it's actually really easy to learn. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's the best part of it. Like once you learn it, everything you do will be transformed. And so it's been fun to walk so many businesses and leaders through this framework over the years.
That's cool. So I remember when you were kind of getting certified as a Storybrand trainer, you actually had to go away and there's like a whole process to this thing. It's not like take a course and check some boxes online and download your certificate, right?
Right. Yeah. No, it was back actually in 2017. I went out about this time of year. So it was about five years ago. I went out to Nashville for about a week and spent time with their team. And yeah, there is a lot of, they teach you the framework. And so there's a lot of learning associated with that. But while we were there, we actually had to develop some marketing stuff. And it was like live reviewed by Donald Miller and some of the other guys. And they critiqued you in front of hundreds of people.
Oh my gosh.
And if it wasn't good, then they didn't certify you. And so fortunately, it was a good process and it was fun. It was definitely nerve-wracking. I lost a lot of body weight and just sweat over the last few days. But it's an experience I'll never forget. So
yeah, that's awesome. I think Travis and I have talked about this on the show a lot, that everything that we see, everything we do, it's all driven by story, whether it's a movie you're watching, whether it's a news article, there's a narrative, there's a story being told, and everything that is put in front of us. So what Storybrand is, my impression, you can of course chime in on this because you're the certified guide, is helping take that's already existing, the storytelling that's evident everywhere, and helping you retool it to market your message that you're trying to get across, whether you are doing a nonprofit or, in our case, for those listening, selling t-shirts or selling physical products.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We're all using words to describe what we do. It's just some words are better than other words. And the reality is it doesn't matter how pretty your website is. People actually only take action when they read or hear words that move them to action.
Sure.
And that's really the long and the short of it, is we're all trying to say something. And so a lot of companies spend a lot of money on the creative part of it, like how flashy or, getting the right color profiles and the branding part of it. And branding is definitely it's its own discipline and its own part of the marketing ecosystem. But when it comes to messaging and copywriting, it's critical that we fight for the right words to describe what we're doing in with the fewest amount of words possible to activate somebody's brain. And the reality is, just like you said, like our brains are wired to enter into a story. It's just like we spend about 30% of our day daydreaming. And anytime, like if you're sitting through a meeting that's boring, or you're reading a book you're not into, or you're having to do something that it's not really accessing you, your mind just clicks into story. It starts imagining what life could be like, or, it just goes somewhere else. And yet you can sit through a 3-hour film, Lord of the Rings, and never once does your brain wander, because your brain actually goes into a narrative story, and you imagine your life as if it's Bilbo Baggins or whoever the character is, and you actually, like, you're living as if you're them. And so that's what, even in marketing, when we use in simple ways some of the elements of story, it actually helps people imagine their lives in a new kind of way. So and that's what our brains are wired to do. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's super interesting. And I geek out on this stuff. I love it when you start talking about this stuff, man. It's always so much fun. Let's kind of, let's dig in a little bit more, and why don't you take us through those 7 elements of a good story, so we can and then maybe give us some examples along the way of how that relates to our marketing.
Right. Absolutely. So, one of the first steps to take in the Storybrand process is we have to create what we call a brand script. And what it is we got to make sure we got 7 different elements clearly defined in a cohesive way. And so every story essentially starts with a main character, the hero of the journey. And the reality is that hero is not your business. It's the person that you are trying to communicate with. And the reason they got to you is because they have a core desire. And so one of the first principles is you have to be able to name that character. And some marketing speak, it's your avatar, it's that person that you're trying to reach. But you got to really get clear on what is it that they want in relationship to what you have. And so once you got, your character defined and what they really want, then you have to, really the next step is to identify the problems that they're facing. So every movie, every book you read, it doesn't actually really, the story doesn't start until there's a problem. And that's why in any movie, if there's not a problem, a significant problem in the first 10 minutes, you're daydreaming. Because nobody shows up, to see, somebody have a life that just goes great for 2 hours. It's a boring movie. Like, everything goes well, you got accepted to the job. Your marriage is great.
Yeah.
You're not, there's no threats on your life. It's like, that's just not, you don't want to sit through that. So we like drama. And so the second principle really is we have to identify what is the problem the character's facing. And so let's take, for instance, if print on demand business, and they've been scrapping their brain. The character really wants a gift for that birthday party, and they've been scrapping their brain. They can't figure out what to do, and so the problem, the core desire is, I'm looking for the best gift for this birthday party I'm going to. But the problem is everything is cookie cutter in the store, and it just doesn't stand out. So that's a problem, right? And it makes you feel like, I don't want to be that kind of person. So there's an external problem, there's an internal problem that makes you feel like this is just going to be another ignorable gift, and I'm going to waste my money, and it's going to be forgotten within 3 days, right? So that's an internal problem, an external problem. And so we have to kind of identify those problems. There's really 3 levels of problems, but that kind of gets us through the thing right now. So character, problem, and then the thing is, in a story, a character can never actually solve their own problems. They have to meet another kind of character in a story called a guide. And that's where your business comes in. So whether it's a print on demand business or you go to create some other businesses, you just have to understand that you are there because you're the guide. You're there to help them solve this problem that they're having and to make it easy for them. The best example of that is going to be to take the hero's journey captured in Star Wars. You have Luke Skywalker, who doesn't know, he wants to be a Jedi, but he doesn't know if he can do it. He doesn't know if he has what it takes. And he didn't just self-improve himself into a better story. He had to meet another character called Yoda that actually was able to train him and give him the tools and say, here's the path forward. And while that's kind of a dramatic example, given some of our businesses, I mean, that's the idea of your business is the Yoda, and you have developed the processes and the techniques and the catalog or whatever it is, the products to be able to help the hero get what they want. So, so character, the problem, guide is the third step, and then the guide calls them, or the guide gives them a plan. And usually what that is you're just going to lay out. The best way to think about it is a 3-step process of here's how to get started. And so, with print on demand, a good plan would be, listen, first step is, design your product using our online tool. It's completely free. It'll take you 15 minutes. From there, our team is going to be hard at work to get this thing printed on the best possible garment. So that's step 2. Step 3 is we're going to ship this thing to your door in less than 10 days, and what it is you're creating a visual roadmap of what it looks like to get to success. So that would be an example of a plan, how a guide invites a hero into a plan, and then a call to action is, what do you have to do to get started? Launch the project now, or start customizing your design right now. And that's got to be very clear, especially if you have a website with a maybe a customizable tool or whatever. Just put that right at the top, start customizing now, or whatever, design your shirt now. And a bright colored button. They just have to know exactly what to do for their first step, right? Don't make them go look for it. So that would be, step 5 is the call to action. But then step 6 and 7 are really similar. Every story has stakes to it. And so a story is always going to end in either failure or success. And so either you're going to save the whole Jedi race, or, you're going to, destroy the Death Star, or you're all going to, you're all going to die, or whatever that is. So if you buy our shirts, you'll avoid death. No, no, it wouldn't go like that, obviously. But success is just imagine giving your friend that gift with, the glow in their eyes and, the inside joke printed on a shirt that they'll never forget, So you have to create a picture of what success is going to look like. And then failure basically is you hint at what could go wrong. Like, listen, you don't show up to the birthday party with the gift that's going to be forgotten. That kind of
right.
And what it is, it's just, you're just teasing out. Yeah, you don't want that. Here's what you're going to avoid, but here's what you're going to get. And that's failure and success. And so that's the whole framework. There's obviously more to it. And I help businesses, map that out for their business. But you can kind of see how all the parts work together. And it's really fun when it all comes together.
That's interesting. That's really, I love the simplicity of that. I also think, like, how many Storybrand guides have used that? I mean, of course, you're using Storybrand in your marketing by, saying, hey, your website could be, incredible, and you could sell all of these products, or you could just be like every other website, because, there's that, the winning and the losing, kind of the 6th and 7th steps, that, I mean, it's so obvious, and we see it all the time. I mean, it's not just
everywhere. I mean, you see it in everything, every kind of ad or marketing you experience. Now, there's really like another part of it that's not one of the steps, but it's also very important. It's called the character transformation. And in every story, the main character transforms into a different kind of person by the end of the story. So there's the content of the story, but there's the kind of person you become at the end, and that's really fun when you start looking at that, and we could look at a lot of brands. You take like Coca-Cola, you become a happier, more fun-loving social person. It's always at parties somehow.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
you know, or Apple, you know, you become this persona, a kind of person who's more creative and smarter and just minimalist and sleeker than everybody else, you know. And certainly that's more in the branding category. It's not always explicitly said, but it's funny how we actually become different kinds of people when we encounter brands or messages that invite us to do so.
Yeah. It makes me think of Snickers. Snickers just outright says you're not yourself when you're hungry. So Snickers helps you be your best self, your real self.
Right.
All you need is that chocolate bar and you're set straight. You're recalibrated. So
oh man. Yeah. And it's really funny because when you really dig into it, some of the most popular brands, they're promising things that they, I don't know if they can actually deliver, but it doesn't matter because people do it anyways. And so, you know, it's like Coca-Cola's, it's sugar water. But somehow you were going to be you're going to enjoy life with our sugar water. It sounds weird when you say it like that, but like, we don't even second guess it. When you watch a commercial, you just, of course, Coca-Cola means happiness. That's what that means. And so that, you know, that takes it a little bit different direction, but you can kind of see how it all comes together.
Yeah, it's interesting because different kind of branding slogans, it seems, will use different parts or different elements of those seven. Like I'm reminded of like Granger. I hear it on the radio. Granger, for the ones who get it done. And so they're like giving you your identity. Oh, I'm one of those guys, you know, and they can build their whole branding around just one part of one of those elements.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's what's the insurance company? Is it Aflac? What's their thing? It's like
the duck.
Yeah. Is it like, I think it's like save 15% in car insurance.
Geico. Yeah.
Or it's Geico.
Yeah.
Yeah. And their whole thing is just about the call to action, you know, like, you know, call us and you'll save this, you know, or something like that. And I mean, it's all about making that just very clear and very simple to remember. And so you're totally right. A lot of brands will take one part of the full brand script and go all in on that. And it can work just depending on what kind of business you have.
Yeah, I think it'd be a fun exercise to, you know, take famous slogans that we all know and see if we can identify what one of the 7 elements they're actually trying to target.
That would be super fun.
Nike, just do it.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh, just do it. That's completely aspirational identity. And so it's the type of person you're becoming. You're an active person. You get things done. You move into action, right? And you associate that. Just do it. It's just it's like it appeals to the type of person you really want to become at the end of the day. Which is wild. There's another one, Gerber knives. They have this great commercial if you search for it. I think it's called Here Comes Trouble. And the whole thing, or is it Here Comes Trouble? Something like that. But the whole thing is all of these scenes of men using their Gerber knives to like cut rope and, you know, and like they're lassoing things and they're fishing and they're like pulling logs and, you know, just using knives for all of these different like applications. And by the end of it, you're like, it's so clear that like what makes a man is owning a Gerber knife. Right. And it's for men who want to get dirty and get in trouble and live like this active, adventurous life. It's like, it's pretty amazing how by the end of the commercial, you're like, get me 3 of those. You know, and are you going to use it to do any of those things? Probably not. You're probably going to use it to like open a bag of grass seed,
break down cardboard boxes.
Totally.
The most
break down cardboard boxes from IKEA. But I'm gonna feel like a real man as
I'm on YouTube and I searched Gerber commercials and the caption is the manliest commercial ever. So someone uploaded it basically saying like, this is the epitome of testosterone driven life. Like, this is it.
Yeah, this is it. And you're totally right. We're just cutting down cardboard, most of us. But the whole thing was it appealed to the type of person that we aspire to be, which is one of the deepest human needs. Now,
Right.
you know, a lot of our marketing won't require that level of intensity. You know, we can just stick to the bullet points of like the 7 parts of a good story, and we'll be just fine. But that water goes really deep when you get into it.
Yeah, it's like they've really kind of nailed their avatar, or that type. This is the type. Like, I mean, there's probably a lot of people. Well, I mean, I don't want to be sexist, but like a woman watching that Gerber commercial probably isn't going to have the same reaction as a guy, because that's not their avatar, and they've really kind of dialed that in.
Character, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
it's not their character, right?
Yeah. And so Gerber positioned themselves as a guide to men who want to, who do have this inner desire to live a certain kind of life, right?
Yeah.
And so somehow they position themselves in that way of, hey, we're here for you, and we're going to help you access this kind of life as you use our knives.
Yeah. It makes me think for women, I think of the Maybelline slogan. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline, suggesting like that natural beauty. Well, you can get it with our makeup. It could be natural beauty, but it's probably our makeup. So if you want to look naturally beautiful, buy our makeup. So it's crazy when you start reading in between the lines of what they're actually inferring by some of these slogans.
For sure.
To see exactly what they're wanting you to feel, or a lot of people, I don't think even. And it's subconscious. You don't think of the emotion that it invokes in you when you hear certain things or certain slogans.
Right. Yeah. And I would clarify one thing too. A lot of businesses try to put a lot of money into branding and finding like taglines like that.
Yeah.
So a print on demand business, and you come up with a tagline, just do it, or whatever. It's like, it's probably not necessary when you're a small business to do anything as it relates to branding. Branding is about frequency of interaction. So like major brands that become household staples, they can get into marketing that doesn't revolve around a lot of messaging. They can just kind of position themselves as like a constant in your home, but with just evoking feelings, and aspirational identity, like we're saying. I think, for the most part, though, with small businesses, it's not wise to invest a ton of money into branding and all the feeling stuff of it quite yet. It's better to get the copywriting, the messaging in place so you're clear, because that's one of the mistakes a lot of businesses make is they're trying to set themselves apart from the pack, and from their competitors, which certainly in time that's okay to do, but what wins at the end of the day 9 times out of 10 is clarity over creativity when it comes to marketing. And so if people don't understand what you're offering them within a few seconds, and how you intend to invite them into a better kind of story or a picture of success, they are going to go somewhere else, and they will do business with somebody that is more clear over the one who is more creative, probably. So,
wow.
Well, in anticipation of having you on the show, Luke, we posted in our Facebook group and just kind of said, "Hey, does anybody want a free shop review online?" Because you were like, "Hey, maybe we could look at a site or two and see if there's some things that we could kind of see it through the lens of Storybrand." So we're going to do a couple here.
Which one do you want to do first?
Let's do John. So
okay.
John, you remember John from a couple episodes ago. He's the Graphic Hive, but they have an actual t-shirt store called quickertees.com. Josiah's going to, so if guys, you want to definitely check this out either on YouTube or on Spotify, so you can kind of see what we're talking about here. We'll do our best to explain it in an audio way. But go ahead, Luke. So we're looking at the Graphic Hive. It's got Graphic Hive in the corner, but it's actually quickertees.com.
Right. Yeah. So this is a great example. It's obviously this company is owned by graphic designers. The colors are sharp. Photos are great. And so it's interesting when we start taking like a clear story branded message and apply it to a website. There's really a few considerations, and I'll just walk through a couple bullet points. And so one of the first things we see in the header, let me just point out a couple really positive things. In the header, first of all, there's a great photo, and so in every website and right in the top of the website, you want a great, what we call a hero photo. And that's usually a happy, smiling person using your product, somebody that you see them and subconsciously you're thinking, I would love to be that person right now. It doesn't have to be over the top. And obviously some stock photos get just way too over the top. You want to find something natural. But one thing I love about this is that right at the top, there's a photo of a beautiful young woman wearing a hoodie, obviously printed by the Graphic Hive, and it kind of highlights that. So that's one plus positive of just the first thing I'm seeing. Second thing, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do when I get to this page. There's a big button right in the header that says "Start your design," and it's a bright color, and I think that's good. I think it would be better if it also had that on the top right. You really want that call to action both in the center of your header of your site, but then also on the top right of your navigation, because that's part of how your eyes move across a website. You want your logo on the top left, a call to action in the top right, and then that call to action again right in the middle of that header. And so those are a couple positive things on the site. Now, one thing I'm noticing from the actual words perspective, and again, words are one of the most important parts of a website aside from the aesthetics. There's a lot of words in the header. So just to, for people that are not watching this right now, it says this in the header: need a shirt for a birthday party? Want to display your favorite photo wherever you go? Need a shirt or two for your business? Choose the Graphic Hive DTG solution. Now, honestly, I think some of those phrases or those questions are actually good, but probably to use somewhere else on the site. What you want in the header is just a big, bold statement that says exactly what you're offering. And again, you're hinting at how it's going to make them more successful. So probably what I would like to see right at the top of the site is even something like this: get the perfect custom shirt or hoodie for any occasion. Something like that. Something that just says what you're offering. Now, later on the site, you can really hint the applications like birthday parties, team sports, corporate events. You can get into like ideas for how to do that. But they just need to see. When you get to the site, you have to really kind of you don't know what they're offering. You don't know it's a direct to garment printing. You don't know it's a custom thing. They're just they're asking a lot of questions, but it's not clear. And so I don't understand what it means. And if I don't understand what it means in 3 to 5 seconds, I'm going to go find another direct to garment printer that is easier to understand probably. So
sure.
Any questions on that? So that's the header part there.
No, that's great. I remember when we were doing our print on demand cast page, and we did our little tagline is, we make shows to help you make sales. And it was, it's kind of, I was thinking along those same lines because we'd have previous conversations and things like that. And maybe that's not the best one, but it's better than 4 or 5 different sentences, that kind of confuse the issue. It's more direct, it's more to the point. And so, totally. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, depending on the kind of business, that matters more. But I think just as a rule of thumb, top of the the website, don't have a ton of words. Have one crisp, clear statement that says exactly what you're offering. And so, in fact, you could do a title, subtitle here. You could start with "get the perfect custom shirt for any occasion" or something like that. And maybe with a smaller subtitle: designed, printed, and shipped to your door in 10 days or less, or something like that. Sure. That would take it to that next level without stealing the show. So now So that's the header part. I think going below this, on the site, they get to the examples pretty quick, examples of the work. And I think that's going to be helpful. So you can see, again, people that are getting really creative with how they're using their product. I think this is where you could really highlight different uses, again, birthday parties, corporate events, team sports, that kind of thing. I think even before the examples, though, there's a couple opportunities. I would love to see just a few value propositions that really amp up the success. And so what that means is maybe like 3 blurbs across right underneath that header photo, and then you could have 3 blurbs that say something like "stand out from the crowd," "give an unforgettable gift," "get custom apparel quickly," or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, we just want to add value on like what we're trying to do, and what success could look like, right? But then the other part too, I think a huge opportunity on the site is to remind them of the problem that you're solving for them. Again, it's a character who wants something. You've already told them what they're getting, so you've cut to the chase already. But you have maybe a few value propositions, a few blurbs that amp that up. But I think you could also add what we call a problem section, and even if they don't think that they're here for a t-shirt, right? So they might not be consciously aware that there's a problem that they're having, but you can remind them that there is a problem that they're having. And it could just be a section that says, only need a single custom shirt and not a bulk order of 50,
Right.
or tired of cookie cutter gift ideas, or, need a quick turnaround that's dependable or something like that. There's ways to kind of amp like, oh yeah, that's a problem that you can solve for me. I do need a quick turnaround, or, I do need to get around these bulk order fees, and you can solve that for me in a unique way. So, so I think a problem that would a panel that just asks a few of those questions. And again, it doesn't have to take up a lot of room, but it's a way of saying we're a guide. We're gonna help you overcome these problems that you're facing, and help you get some shirts that you just love, right? So, yeah, I'm thinking we've already talked about the examples and maybe even amping those up a little bit,
or being more specific with them.
Get more specific with them.
Yeah.
And you could say simply something as simple as, gifts for birthday parties, or you could get more descriptive. You could say you want to print that inside joke on a shirt, see your friend's face on their 30th birthday. You can get real specific with this stuff, and now you're imagining that scene, like you see it, right? And that's what's powerful, using visual language to talk about what that's like, or being at the next sporting event and you're the only one with a different kind of shirt or hat or hoodie or whatever. And so you're going to show your true fandom by standing out from the crowd. So now I'm imagining that, I'm imagining what that would be like, or how that could look. Or, or at the next corporate event, the next business event, showcase your brand in a unique way from your competitors or whatever. So I think you can get more specific, and that helps them see, wow, there's a lot of different uses for print on demand that I could be just, accessing those visuals. So, and then, and really, I think there's maybe 2 more sections. So we've talked about the header. We've talked about value propositions of 3 blurbs. We've talked about maybe a problem section. Just talked about maybe getting more specific with the examples or uses. I would say just 2 more things I would hit. 1, a panel on the site that just says, how does it work? And this is where we talk about the plan. Okay. How does it work? Step 1. Design it yourself using our online tool. Step 2, our print, our team will print with the highest quality ink in Colorado or whatever. Step 3, get your shirt delivered in less than 10 days or whatever that is. And now you've created a visual roadmap, and then you put another call to action button there that says, start your design now. And it just like, you're just always telling him what's the first, what's my first step. And then from there, where's it going to go? So that's what we call a plan section. Those are very effective on websites. And then I think if you're going to keep going on that, I think one way to set yourself apart from competitors, and even set yourself up even more importantly as a guide, is the question, like, have a panel. What makes Graphic Hive so different? Or what makes us different than other print on demand? And and maybe there's one or two things. Maybe it's we use only the highest quality garments, or our team is 100% committed to customer support, or whatever that is. You might be able to highlight a few things, but all these features are not just bragging on yourself. You're talking about why that matters for the hero of the story. So we print on the highest quality garments so that you can, so this shirt doesn't wear out in only 3 uses, so you can wear this shirt for years to come, that kind of thing. So take it beyond the feature into helping them imagine why that's going to be good for them. Our team is our team is 100% committed to your success, available 24/7. So any questions that you have, we'll be able to answer in a moment's notice.
Right.
There's just ways to kind of take it. So those are the main things on the site that I would say, if you're going to amp it up, that's what I would do. And I think you could do that to any site. Those same things I just talked about, you can apply those in different ways. And I think it would be good. I know a lot of print on demand is using probably more Amazon or Etsy, but I do know the desire as well is to get customers to your own site to avoid different processing fees. And so if you don't have a site, you should probably get one and make sure it's in good shape, so that when you drive traffic to it, ready to go.
Yeah. So there was one other person that reached out to me privately, so I'm not going to say his name, but he had an Etsy store, and I know a lot of the things that you do with Storybrand are going to be more on like a Shopify or some type of external website, not necessarily a channel like you were just alluding to. But we just pulled up. It's a Little Leaf Trading Co.
Yeah,
and
it's a great shop.
You mentioned a couple things that you might go ahead and just, I guess, give us your thoughts.
It's interesting. You don't have quite as much flexibility on an Etsy shop, but that doesn't mean you don't have any flexibility. One of the things I like about this page is in the header. It's got the logo, it's got an example, the photo is a bunch of the shirts, which is great. But I like that they have a description too of what kinds of shirts they're selling. So on this particular photo, it says outdoors, camping, and craft beer apparel. So if you showed up at this Etsy site, you know exactly what kinds of shirts they're going to be offering. We offer outdoors, camping, and craft beer apparel. You don't have to go scroll through all their product to figure out, what the tone or, like what kinds of things they're offering. This is exactly what they're offering. So it's a really good example of, you can still use that sharp, crisp, clear line right in the header of your Etsy shop. Just bake it right into the photo, right? And there's a few other, interesting things with Etsy. There's this announcement section, so you can talk about deals that you're offering. You could amp up any other special features or special shirts that you're offering, or limited time offers, which is definitely a good place to do that. If people read more, they can go get more information about what you're offering, and you can certainly use that to describe the products or describe what kind of shirts that you're offering or what kind of printing process that you're offering. And you could do that here in the announcement section, or certainly when you click on a shirt, when you click on a product, anything here, you have a chance to describe the product. And I think the description is a huge opportunity. I mean, I'm guessing with shirts, most people buy the shirt simply based on design, but it would be nice to be able to highlight other features, like 10% of profits go to, children in Uganda, or, every garment was handmade by, by handmade in America, or by women in Indonesia, or whatever, fair trade, sustainable, that kind of stuff. You can mention other features like that take it beyond just the design of the garment into features that are going to help that person feel better about their purchase. They want to be the kind of person who purchases responsible products, for instance. And so the description is a good place to talk about those kinds of things. One of the things I like about this site as well is in the description, the thumbnails, some of the shirts. This is really good, actually. Some of the shirt designs has a little banner that says free digital print with t-shirt. And I love that. Just those 5 words or 6 words or whatever that is, it amps it up. So when you see the shirt and then you also see that line, free digital print with t-shirt, all of a sudden it snaps. You're adding more value, first of all, but second of all, using 5 words, now they know that if they like the design, they can take that digital print and put it on anything they want. They can use that print and use it in other applications as well. And so they did that right on the thumbnail, and I think that was smart. And I think you could do that. You could put lots of like messages like that to really amp up the value of the shirt. So yeah, so there's a few things that come to mind. Certainly, there's probably more messaging opportunities on an Etsy shop, but I think this particular site's doing a great job, and I think there's a lot others could learn from this.
Nice. Very cool. Well, thanks, Luke, for doing that. I think that brought a lot of value to people who are going to watch this later and or even listen to it, because I think we were able to kind of communicate without having to have the visual. But yeah, there was a lot of really good, interesting things. And you can really kind of see how Storybrand is a part of those decisions, and and those 7 elements were kind of baked into each of those little sections that you were talking about on the first website, and how you can kind of take somebody into that story, bring them into that story, and be their guide, and let them be the hero of that story. It's really
and honestly, it just makes marketing fun again. Because marketing is just a pain. When you're just trying to figure out what to say or what do I put on the site. So the cool thing about this kind of stuff is it actually puts some fun back into it. It makes it enjoyable because you get to experience it as if you were a character entering into a story. And it really does open up a lot of creative possibilities. And so, hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, I definitely think it is. So Luke, what if people want to reach out to you and maybe even use your services? How would they go about getting a hold of you?
You can write me a letter.
Nice.
I'll give you my address.
Put it into the mail.
Snail mail.
So it's a great question. So my website is voicecraft.net, but let me just explain something that would be a really valuable thing, I think, for listeners of the show. So I talked about the Storybrand process and the 7 parts that you're going to need for effective and clear marketing. And then what you would do after you get that message, that Storybranded message, is you really have to apply it in about 5 different places. And it's what we would call a sales funnel. And every business needs a sales funnel. Every business needs a way to both attract new clients and retain them and grow an email list, that you actually own the email list. Email is still king when it comes to marketing. And so, the 5 elements, the 5 core elements of a sales funnel is, first of all, start with the foundation of that Storybrand brand script. Then you got to develop a one-liner, which is just a crisp, clear way that you talk about your business and what you're doing. When somebody asks you in an elevator or a cocktail party, in a way that positions you as a guide and not the hero. And so you need a one-liner. You got to learn how to apply the story to your website. Then on your website, you're going to need a way to collect email addresses to give away. You want to give away what we would call like a lead generating PDF. And so, or just have something valuable to give away in exchange for an email address. Certainly that could be as simple as, we'll give you 15% off your first order if you put your email in here. That's maybe the lowest hanging fruit. But it could go beyond that. I could see developing a catalog of sorts. Here's 25 of the hottest, gift ideas that you can customize for your next event. Just give us your email. We're going to send you this free guide or something like that. And so it would just have to be a captivating title. It's got to be worth an email address. And so whatever that means for you, that's the cost of admission. But to have something to give away. And then once you have their email, to design, 5 or 6 follow-up emails that might highlight different product uses or customization options that they haven't thought of yet. And you're just inviting them to just keep coming back. So you stick with them, send them an email about every, few days for the first week or two. But then ultimately it could turn into just imagine an email that just goes out once a week that highlights a product, a new kind of product, and how one customer or client is, experiencing great joy with that product. So those elements, the Storybrand message, one-liner, website, lead generating PDF or download into an email sequence. And what that does is it walks, you're able to stay with the customer client for the journey. Now, you might be wondering how your marketing funnel stacks up, and what the gaps are in your marketing funnel. So that was a long setup to just send you to a specific link. If you go to voicecraft.net/report, you can take a free 10-minute assessment that's going to walk you through some questions relating to your current marketing efforts. And what it's going to do is generate a report for you, completely customized around your business. That's going to talk about your strengths in your sales funnel and then the weaknesses of your sales funnel, and tell you what you need to do to strengthen it up so you can actually build your business and have a really strong marketing and messaging plan. And then once you have that customized report, I can help you put any of those things in order in your business. And certainly there's other things I can do, but I feel like that's, if you do nothing else, go to voicecraft.net/report and at least find out if you have a good marketing plan or one that could use some help.
Awesome. And we'll put that link in the show notes as well for you, those of you listening, so you can find it easily. But yeah, I think Travis, do you want to do any magic questions or just go to everyone's favorite segment? I mean, you tell me.
Let's do the everybody's favorite segment, because I'm excited about that one.
All right, here we go. Everyone's favorite segment, the weekly dad joke.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
All right. Well, Luke, you were forewarned that such a thing would happen. Not the bumper, as much as you have to bring a dad joke with you. So you are the guest, and we will give you the first go at this week's weekly dad joke.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. All right. So here's my dad joke for the week. What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet? Supplies.
All right.
Very nice.
Humbrecht dad joke of the week.
That's it, man. I mean,
yes.
I don't know how to make that cheesier. I mean, that's just. I mean, it was painful even just saying it, but
yeah. It's right. All right, Travis.
That's what we strive for here on the Print on Demand cast is cheese and lots of it.
Yeah, we tell people all the time, and it is true that I think 90% of Travis and 10% of Travis and I's text thread is like actual meaningful conversation or setting dates and times, appointment, whatever. The other 90% is just dad jokes.
Dad jokes.
So,
Perfect.
It's true.
yeah,
That's
That's great. It's awesome. It's a great
All
way
right.
to communicate.
Yeah, I think so. Travis, why don't you bring the heat
right.
for the POD cast?
Okay, so why was the rookie police officer assigned to hunt the cannibal? Well, the more seasoned officers had already been eaten.
That's so.
Oh, I have so
Oh.
many questions.
Yeah.
I have so many. Speaking of visual language, I have things in my mind right now.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for inviting me into that story.
Yeah, that one was the least terrible of the ones that you pitched before we pressed record, but nonetheless, it was.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
all
well.
right. Well, Luke, thanks so much, man, for taking time out of your schedule to chat with us. And I really do think that this is going to be so beneficial for those listening, because I think
Mhm.
marketing and branding sometimes are one of those things that seems so like overwhelming to even
Right.
think about how to effectively do it. And
Yeah.
having these 7 steps definitely makes it a lot more it makes it easier to kind of figure out where to start or how to begin that journey. So, man, thank you so much. I think it's invaluable.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show, guys, and hopefully I was able to add some value to the podcast.
For sure, man. You
sure.
sure will. Sure. We've been talking about this day for a long time. We keep going, we need to get Luke on because something will come up about marketing or something. We're like, we really need to get that guy on. So we're really glad to
it
have
would be
you.
a great segment. We should do a segment sometime, just a standard segment of, play a random commercial and see if you can name the brand or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
That is an excellent idea.
I like that idea quite a bit. And we can do remotely. So maybe we, cigars and whiskey or somewhere and watch some good old fashioned good commercials and see what happens.
Yeah, or just review commercials. I would love to do that. Just play a commercial and we'll just take it apart and find out what they're trying to do. I mean, that would just be like
bonus episode.
Yeah, that's incredible. We will make that happen. So, all right, man. Thanks, Luke. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, guys.
We want to thank Luke again for coming on to the show. Finally, we've referenced it a lot in that interview, but we had wanted him to come on the show for quite a long time. And I think now those of you listening understand why, is because it's such a wealth of knowledge and such a cool approach to marketing and to branding. So, I mean, Travis, what's one I mean, I know there's a lot, but what's one thing that you would say, definitely stuck out to you as he was kind of going through the process?
Well, one thing I thought about while you were kind of wrapping everything up, and I actually told you guys about it afterwards. I think one of the reasons that people kind of don't engage in marketing. I mean, obviously, if you're a big company, you have to. There's a marketing budget, all that. I think for small business owners and smaller businesses, the reason they don't really invest in a lot of this stuff is because they know it's important. They just don't know how to do it, and they don't want to spend all the time that it's going to take to write these emails and to redo their site and all this stuff if they're going to do it wrong. And what I love about the Storybrand methodology is that it actually gives you that roadmap. And that if you do it like this, you're tapping into something that is so it's like the core of our humanity is story.
Primitive in a way,
And so you're doing it right. And so you can trust in that process. That's what I really appreciated about the 7 elements and just that whole thing. And he kept talking about it. That rabbit hole goes even deeper. It's not just the 7 elements and you're done. I mean, it's all of what those 7 elements kind of bring out, in your marketing and how you best utilize them. And it's really fascinating.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I think I really do like the idea. I mean, we talk about bonus episodes all the time, but that episode idea that he said, let's watch a commercial and dissect it and see how they're using those 7 elements or which one they're focusing on the most. Because again, there's probably a lot of, like you said, sub points to each of those main 7 elements that you can dive deeper into. And I thought one thing that he said that was interesting to me is that people will oftentimes choose the clear um the clear answer more than the creative, where people a lot of
Right.
the times, I know when in my thinking, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to branding, you want to do the creative thing to try and stand out, but oftentimes if you get too creative, you lose the concise nature that you need to have that will
Mhm.
actually make the person pull the trigger and go with whatever service you're offering.
Yeah.
But this is one that I would say for sure, folks, you're going to need to listen to again,
Yep.
because there'll be something that he says that you'll latch onto, and then your mind will just start going and thinking about what you can do with that one element, and you'll miss the next three elements, and you're going to need to hit that rewind button,
Mhm.
and kind of take this in bite-sized pieces. But I mean, overall, I would agree with you. One of my favorite episodes, and I think it's going to be so
Mhm.
incredibly beneficial for those
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah, I'm excited. Little peek under the curtain for the Print on Demand cast. We're actually redesigning our site right now.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to send Luke the link and say, all right, rip it apart,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and see kind of what he comes up with. But yeah, super, super fun having him on. He's a great guy. He's really great friend.
yeah,
And obviously incredibly well spoken and really knows a lot about word crafting
yeah,
and obviously the whole story brand concept and how to best use words to
yeah,
convey
yeah,
what you actually need to convey, not what you necessarily want to convey, but what you need to convey in order to get that sale or create that relationship with that customer or that potential customer. Yeah, very, very happy we had Luke on, and we're
yeah.
going to do it again.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because again, there's lots of things that you can dive into there. So
Right.
we want to thank you guys for enduring with us. This episode was a little more lengthy than most, I would assume. Even though Travis and I tend to be long-winded as well, but this episode is
Wasn't our
long.
fault.
It wasn't our
It was
fault.
it was Luke's fault.
Yeah, and it was way more informative than if Travis and I were just,
Totally.
talking about
100%.
something. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. It's great to be back with you this week again. If you have any questions, there's a couple of ways you can reach out to Travis and myself. Of course, printondemandcast.com/Facebook. You can join the group, join the conversation, the community. If you have a question for Luke, you can let us know. Is he in our Facebook group? I don't know. He may
I don't
be.
know.
We'll let him know either way. If you have a question for him,
Yeah.
you can submit it there, and we can pass it along and get an answer to you. Or maybe we'll if there's a lot of them, we'll accumulate those Q&As and bring them back on for a Q&A and just kind of fire those questions at him. If you want to email us, info@printondemandcast.com is where you can get in touch with Travis and I as well. If you're not a social media person, printondemandcast.com/YouTube and /Instagram is where you can find those respective platforms for the Print on Demand cast as well. And wherever you are listening to podcasts, the PODcast is there for you. And we would ask, leave us a review. If you know what I noticed on Spotify, speaking of reviews, that we actually have some reviews. We have 17
Really?
reviews
Huh.
on Spotify. You can't leave
Thanks, guys.
a review in word form, but we're 4.5 stars, and that's over 17 reviews. So 4.5 out of 5, over 17 reviews. So you can do that on that platform. Or if you're on the podcast app through Apple, you can leave us an actual review with the star rating and let us know your favorite part of the show, how you got to the show, what you're loving, your favorite dad joke, favorite guest, whatever it is. The reason we're asking you guys to do that, though, is it definitely helps bolster what we're trying to do here as we're trying to build the Print on Demand cast as a brand, as a show, to get the information out to the people that need it the most. And for that matter, if you have a second, hit the share button on your podcast app, share this episode to Facebook, to Twitter, to Instagram, wherever you want to share it. If you know people that need to hear this insight that Luke brought to this show, hit that share button as well. And we'll be very, very thankful that you did. So, Travis, anything else before we wrap it up and send it home?
I don't think so. I think we've gone long enough.
You are not wrong. So thank you guys again. For Travis, I'm Josiah. We'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe, thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.